Hello everybody, Kurt over here, and welcome back to another episode from Whole Feather Labs. Today we're going to be continuing on with that first look about what we had here with that overbind look, the overbind into the arms. And we're going to start taking some concepts we talked about before about knowing effective strikes, as well as and how we may get set up into these things. I've heard conversations before in the past in regards to, well, no one's doing this whether they struggle. This is absolutely correct. I think that, well, why doesn't the technique work? Why doesn't it work here? This guy's stronger than me. We have to consider that a lot of the stuff that we're doing in training is not necessarily replicable because you're actually trying to hurt the person rather than trying to just wrestle them and fight them to the ground. And we're going to be talking a little bit about that today when we look at Fiore's effective strikes and things right here that may loosen up to create that avenue of approach, and why somebody may or may not, in a lethal period a lethal engagement in his period, may retract or take different actions which allow us to break the arm or to throw them. And with that being the case here, let's roll the film. So once again, I'm here with my lovely assistant Vincent, and we're going to look at that first play where, again, we have the image of the guy up top right here, and he's working over, and we're working into that break and overthrow. Okay, so there's a couple things that we have to understand about this. And last time we talked about this, but it comes down to the concept of knowing effective strikes. One of the things we did before, and again, I'm holding on to this just to simulate this is somebody holding on to me. I can't get out of it. There's an elbow right here. And this right here, we're not just going here. Why isn't it working? We're striking this, right? And this strike, and again, I'm not encouraging people to actually do this, please, in the training out there. I'm trying to tie the text to a technique, to a period of understanding of what's happening behaviorally. Okay. The elbow is absolutely a weak point, and if I'm like this, and this gets strike upwards, you can already tell. If you just tap yourself there, you can feel like, ooh, the elbow doesn't go that way. That's not a good idea. And it's also going to go into the shoulder. So looking at this position here, hands in here, this allows me to come up, and I'm not trying to hit the arm, I'm trying to strike it to get up and over. So it's like a pass and flight, if you will. Come over, right? And already right here, I'm in position to break as need be. So another thing that may be happening with this look here, and why it might be this person, the arms be moving into different directions, is because maybe I've come across this way and I'm over here. And the thing is, at this point in time, the reality is they may not want to go down with this. So how can we get this arm? How can we get ourselves into position that gets us into a different type of conveyance? One of the things that Fiore tells us is about striking the eyes, the throat, the node in the back of the mouth right here, which is actually a really, really bad place to hit somebody in the jaw, which is why I think he tells you about striking there behind the beard, with some of his blows, with the pommel, and also with his fingers. I also think that's also where you in the cross guard shot. Why? Because this is going to devastate somebody's face and it's going to turn them. Okay. So when we look at this right here, I'm coming around on the outside. If this person, and the reality is, if this person is fighting me right here, I want to straighten this arm. So instead of right here, this is what you don't see in the manual. But again, if you know effective strikes, how does somebody who's armed like this and they're fighting you, how do you get them to start doing this? How do you get them to turn? You put your fingers in their eyes. Fingers in the eyes, push the jaw. Right? So we come along this way right here. This person's fighting me. They're not going to let me go with this. I've struck on the outside. Maybe I've missed. Put the fingers in the eyes right here. Make them go like this and give them the straightened arm, which allows the break. Okay? This is not about punching, in my opinion. This is more about how do we utilize shock areas on a target. And again, for what I think Fiore means for us to understand. It's the same thing too on the inside of the arm. Like last week we talked about how they come low and they come over. Striking on the inside of the arm right here. Now listen, I know there's plenty of videos out there with big muscle bound men and everything else that talk about like, you can't do anything with my arm here. This is true. It's not about just stopping the guy's arm. You're talking about in motion flight. You're talking about deflection, and you're talking about redirection. So as this hand is coming up, swinging the arm outside with this is as much about trying to get into the inside to break structure and turn the arm and to kind of deaden the inside grip, as much as it is about getting to position. So again, we can all argue about, well, if I just sit there and flex my way through, this is not the kind of thing that you're talking about here. You're talking about utilizing, in my opinion, you're trying to utilize the ridge of the arm to strike the inside of the arm, which is where your grip mechanism is. So again, just like we said before about last week about coming low, all that this is once again, I'm messing with this right here. This is a fight. I'm trying to do something right here. He's trying to do the same. He's going to grab up on me. I'm coming across. Because as he thinks that he's going to get this, I'm going to try to close and come onto the other side. Doesn't want to go down, get to the eyes. Break the arm. Okay? Again, I'm not proposing that people actually do this. I just want to put together some of the training we've been talking about before, about knowing effective strikes and other things that may or may not be happening in this type of scenario. You got to remember, this is a book, at least from how I see it, this is a book that was written for somebody who was, by all reasonable sense, very paranoid about losing his life. Okay, so I mean, and I'm not talking about Fiore, I'm talking about Niccolo d'Este. Okay, so by understanding what an effective strike is, an effective strike to me, the Marine Corps called this softening blows. It's a way that turns the body. And in the Lichtenauer traditions, they talk about no man defends himself without danger. So there are things that instinctually will happen to a person if you put fingers towards their eyes. Everyone has a knee-jerk response. And the thing right here is, in doing that, I don't care how Billy Badass anybody is, in doing that, putting fingers in someone's eyes, in their nose, tearing on an ear, and we're not talking about, grab the ear, we're talking about someone really grabbing on this right here. It's a very vicious thing. This is going to cause the person to change their structure. And this is the difference between someone that's being stable in their structure and is unstable and then able to be able to move into different directions. Okay. So again, we're just talking about the inside spot. And like I said before, we talked about how the arm grabs right here. I have the strike that's up. Maybe I've missed this. Put my fingers in his eyes. Grab the ear. And here's the thing too, as they start to turn into the ear, well, that just opens me up into other sides, and we're starting to see how we can put ourselves into position. This is not a nice grappling situation. Over on this side here, fingers in the eyes, break the arm. He's turning away from me, right? Fingers, grab the ear here, starts turning into this. Well, it's great to reverse it. And now I'm onto this other side. And now we go into the next portion of this, which is this image, where we see this guy doing this, where he's grabbed the guy's back and he's pushing into here. How do we get there? Well, there's a couple of options that get to this, but we're talking about being the defender in this scenario. In which right here, this failed, I don't have this right here, so instead of me, I grab into the face, gives me the break. I grab into the ear, right? They start turning away, or in this case here, they bend the elbow down. I come here and they bend the elbow down out of pain, I shoot into the face, into the throat. Or I grab the ear and this person starts turning to get their face away from me. Now with this arm open up here, I have pressure to move. I grab the lower back and I'm going to put this right through his face. Probably stepping as well. It's about making the person change the direction of how you turn the head. Okay? So again, one last time to reiterate this. Here, strike to the face, they start turning away, it turns into this. Well, that's great because that just gives me the break that I want. Strike comes up, arm bends or it breaks, whatever, hyperextends. And from here, I can get access to the throw. Come in here, denying me the face, I grab an ear. Or I push on that part of the jaw where he talks about, this image. And from here, as he starts to turn away from me, to try to get that thing away from him, so grabbing his ear, he's trying to deny that. To the lower back, pushing his back, and I have the way of being able to push his face. So, Again, this is just some observations and how we may get to deeper abrazare areas based upon the concept of how we are doing our effective strikes. So that's going to do it for the video here. And again, I want to reinforce safety. Again, if you are a practitioner of Fiore, or if you are maybe you do modern day mixed martial arts or whatever the case may be, and you're looking at this, like, I want to try this with a friend or whatever. One, you see my warning at the very beginning of every single one of these things, and that's because I believe that this stuff right here is very more military art practice, which there's structures for that, and we have to be aware of that. We have to understand that there's a danger to this. We have to respect each other's space, each other's bodies, and understand that this was really intent for a very, very, very intense moment in history and in just life in general. Okay, so that's just, I want to put that out there before we close this up. And again, just my final thoughts on this right here is the more that I practice this, and again, for those that have been kind of in more what we call enhanced abrazare, which is where we start talking about, like, you can put your hand on my face or whatever the case right here to start making these type of sensations. It's very evident, and we're just talking about the face, right? We're not talking about the eyes. We're not talking about we're not talking about doing some really bad things to people. That in itself is enough to turn people into different directions, which allows, once again, turns, volta, into advantageous positions that may be unstable for us to pulse into a stable position and then there be able to strike. So again, if you are a Fiore practitioner out there, and this is something that you've also experienced too, again, please leave a comment below. And on your thoughts on this right here, or maybe some things that you've also practiced with this as well. Even if you're not a Fiore practitioner, if you practice other martial arts, as far as this goes right here, again, please share your thoughts, please your considerations. It's interesting to see what people have to say out there and how people work with things. I'd love to hear the feedback on that too. So until next time, everybody, as always, stay safe, train well, and fight on. I'll see you all soon.